Hey guys, I just want to share with you some international news. I know a lot of you guys are probably keeping up with the news or the national news. At least I hope you are. But I also know there's a small segment of you guys who are just too busy and, in all honesty, just not interested in the news, and for good reason in most cases. Because we know most of the news is propaganda, and that news is pretty much sponsored driven. In other words, the sponsors tell the producers of the news stations, who tell the editor, not the editors, but the anchors, what to talk about and what not to talk about. So pretty much, the news is pretty much, for lack of a better word, just exaggerated entertainment. All right? I'll leave that right there. But let's get down to some real important things. I want to talk first about the stock market. And if you've been following the videos, I've talked about, I warn you that the stock market right now is probably not the right place or the best place for you to have your investments. And I know that over the last 5 days there was some positive movement in the market. But if you remember, right before Christmas, the market, I think one day was down 1,000 points, and December was the worst month since the Great Depression in terms of stock market losses. And here we are today. The Dow Jones is down almost 500 points. It was down 600 points earlier today. And the biggest news in all of that news is Apple Computer, which is one of the largest corporations in the world. I think Apple is projected to be the first $1 trillion company. Today, Apple lost $64 billion on the stock market. 64, not million, billion dollars in one day. And Apple CEO, I think his name is Tim Cook, pretty much said because of the global economy, especially what's going on in China, and China is really roughing it out. Japan is having a rough time. He talked a little bit about obviously England, Germany, just the international stock market. And I share that with you guys because this is not just, the news. If you're following the news, they'll tell you, these things happen, and these people are guys, they're leading you astray. They are not going to tell you the truth. It's just not going to happen. And because if they told you the truth, you'll pull all your money out of the damn market, and the market would crash for sure. But if you leave your money in there, then I'm telling you that, what do you call these guys? That I don't want to slip my mind. Your investors. Let's just call them that. The name will come to me in a moment. They're going to continue to skim off the top as much as they can skim off the top, before it all falls out of the bottom. And you don't want to be sitting there with your pension, your 401k, all your life savings, in that market. Okay? Because when it falls and it crashes, and it is going to fall and it is going to crash, guys. It's going to happen. You don't have to do anything. You can leave your money there, but at least you heard someone who loves you and understand, with the economy being what it is right now, who can afford to be bankrupt and have lost all of their assets? Who can afford that? Especially with the job market being what it is too, and many corporations starting to close and fold and go under. 2019 is going to be rough. I'm telling you, it's going to be rough. So get your money, take your money out, put your money somewhere else. I can't tell you what to do with your money. I'm just warning you not to leave it in the stock market. Don't let these 4 or 5 days. I figured that was going to happen when I think his name is Steve Mooching, when he called the 6 bankers over I guess it was the Christmas weekend, and pretty much, asked them to reassure him of their liquidity. In other words, that they had enough money to give loans and things of that nature. And according to him, they all said yes. But nobody calls people over the holiday weekend to have that conversation. Not those people, unless they know there's a tsunami of economic catastrophic event coming. All right? So we'll leave that right there. So you do what you want to do with that information, okay? The next thing I want to mention is there's a organization called Overlord. And Overlord has just announced Monday that they have hacked in to a lot of the companies who did business with a lot of the legal aspects, the lawsuits, the confidential things from 9/11. The people who insured, the Twin Towers, the CIA, the DEA, the FCC, airlines, all of these individuals who had confidential information about what occurred during 9/11, these guys called the Dark Overlord have hacked in that information and now are threatening to release that information. And they're saying that the information that's in these documents that they were able to hack and get is going to be devastating in terms of the confidence that we have in our federal government. In other words, is what some people have been saying, myself included, that 9/11 was an inside job. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear that. Some of you may have lost loved ones. What is an inside job? It means that it wasn't just 19, terrorists from Saudi Arabia mostly, who couldn't fly, a crop plane, who were able to commandeer jets with box cutters and fly them in manners that no one, including Sully, y'all know who Sully is, the guy who landed in the Hudson River, would not have been able to pull off. Okay, but somehow these men were able to pull that off without flaw. And in addition, the Building 7, a 42-story building, World Trade Building 7, go look it up if you haven't already, was a demolition explosion the day of 9/11. So somehow, while all of this stuff was going on right up the street with the Twin Towers tumbling and crashing, somehow demolition experts were able to go into another building, 42 stories tall, put demolition explosive all through the building. Now, this is all why this is going on. The same day, while all of this is going on, September 11, 2001, and bring the building down because they said they felt that the debris from the other two towers would somehow affect that government building with many government agencies, would somehow affect that building, so they'd rather just put demolition. Now, where did you find these demolition people? Do you really believe, guys, honestly, that while all hell was breaking loose up the street, that they were able to get some guys and go put explosive in a 42-story building that exact same day from 0 to 100 and bring that building down? Because that's what they want you to believe. And you say, okay, why are you bringing that up? Well, if that comes to light, what other things do you think are going to come to light? I'm talking about if these hackers, Dark Overlord, if this information is true, what else do you think is going to come to light? And you've heard me question some of these things. If you're a wise person, you should question everything, especially now. I mean, back before the internet, before, a lot of, social media, I'll put that in there too. We were ignorant because we, we only knew what we knew. We were all institutionally trained, at least most of us, especially the well-educated. And so whatever they pretty much told us, we believed. But that day has long passed. And right now, I mean, wise people are going to take and trust but verify. I can believe you, but I'm still going to check up and make sure what you're telling me, it's accurate information, that is correct. And if you don't want to do that, then that's choosing to be ignorance by proxy. In other words, you rather believe the lie because believing the lie keeps you comfortable. But just because you're comfortable in the lie doesn't mean that you're not going to face the consequences of the lie that you refuse to deal with. It's like in a bad relationship, your husband is cheating on you. You can pretend, that you can deny that it's going on. But one day when his mistress shows up and knock on your door, all your denial in the world, you're going to have to be confront. You have to confront it and deal with it. Or even worse, she comes home and tell you, I'm out. So hiding from reality doesn't change reality. All right. So the bottom line is, these are things that are coming out, between the stock market, information that the government, has pulled one of the greatest hoax on the American citizens for money. Because 9/11, much as you may not want to hear me tell you that, guys, it was about money, certain people enriching themselves by insuring those buildings, like 2 or 3 months before those buildings, were destroyed. Someone, I think the name is Silverstein, insured those buildings. And when those buildings fell down, that guy was paid off billions of dollars. Now, how would he know to insure those buildings, a couple of months ahead of time and enrich themselves? Well, the Dark Overlord has all of that information. The airlines, again, what if we were lied to by American Airlines? I'm going to just call them out. What if these passenger lists were not true? What if they were falsified? Out there's so much that could come out. And trust me, me to you, you to me. If we find out that if the Dark Overlord shares information like that, and we find out that we've been lied to, and almost 3,000 people were murdered, because that's what we have to call that murder, if the federal government did that, not only for cash, but to pass the Patriot Act. In other words, the Patriot Act, well, I can't get that out, is where you pretty much gave up all of your sovereignty as American citizens. All these new laws that are on the book now, that where they can type and go in and invade your privacy, all of that was, built from 9/11, the Patriot Act, which gave the federal government permission, more or less, to spy on every single American citizen. And now all of your constitutional rights, if you are identified as an enemy combatant, you can be imprisoned without any constitutional rights to protect you, including the 4th or 5th Amendment, or 6th. No speedy trial, no trial of your peers. They can put you in there. They don't even have to tell you why you're in there. And that goes on and on and on. So these are the things that are coming, guys. And, you've heard me talk about, I said I wasn't going to talk about this, preparation. But, some of the stuff that comes out, guys, don't be surprised if there's rioting in the streets. People are not going to take this stuff, very lightly. And I talked about almost 3,000 people, who were killed in those buildings falling down. But what about all the other people who died from the asbestos and all that other, the debris and all that stuff, the pollutants that were in the air? They're just now starting to come to light. How many people died, from lung disease and things related to that? And all of this, very possibly, we might find out, allegedly. All right, let me say that. Everything I'm saying, by the way, except for the stock market, allegedly. It's a good possibility that it was all done to take away your rights and for others to enrich themselves. All right? So, in closing, that's the latest information, guys. Dark Overlord, go look it up. Check it out. You want to know about this, all right? And they say they're going to be releasing information. Matter of fact, the one thing I didn't mention, and I need to mention this, is that they're saying they're pretty much extortion, is the right word, extorting the government, and saying that if they don't pay them $3.2 billion, they're releasing this information. And if anybody pays them $3 billion, they'll give them that information. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen right there. So, whether you agree or disagree with them holding, going to be paid for the information, well, it's America, it's capitalism. What can I tell you, all right? But if that information comes out, it sounds like it is, watch out. And again, the last thing I'll say is this. You hear me talk many times about this African-American thing, right? And why I don't call myself an African-American, because I'm not. Most of you who are listening to me are people of color are not. But did you ever consider this thing? African-American. Do you know that both of those are named after men? Caucasian men, I might add. Leo Africanus and Americo Vespucci. So, 2 white men, black men, are calling themselves after the names of 2 white men, so-called black men. Think about that. And 2 men can't reproduce. I don't know how you have 2, names of 2 males. But African American, what you're calling yourself, you're calling yourself after Leo Africanus and America Vespucci. How you like that? Maybe you just should be Hebrew Israelite, Aboriginal copper color people found here in the beginning. Love you guys. Talk to you later. DFG. Have a good day. Bye now.